Hi, welcome to the Contra Costa County and Tri-Valley Elder Care channel. My name is Stephanie. I'm the Marketing Director for Horizon Elder Law, as well as today's host for the Elder Care channel. Today we're talking with Janet Brush with Senior Alternatives to learn more about Senior Alternatives as a company, as well as the services such as geriatric care management and home caregivers. Janet, can you tell our viewers a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Senior Alternatives?
Sure. So I actually originally was in business. I have an undergraduate degree in business administration, and I graduated undergraduate college and spent about 8 years in business with companies such as Carnation and Coldwell Banker, and was just not finding that I was satisfied. Uh, Concurrently, I started volunteering at a Meals on Wheels program, and I would go out and check on seniors who were getting home delivered meals just to see if there maybe was some other needs that they had or if there's something going on. And I realized shortly into my volunteer work that I really enjoyed being around seniors and that it was something that I was very passionate about. So I made a very big decision to go into gerontology. And at that time, I was living in Los Angeles, and there was a wonderful social work and gerontology double master's program at USC. So I decided to leave business and go back to graduate school, and I received 2 master's degrees. It was certainly a big turnaround, and um, it ended up coming full circle because today I own my business in gerontology. So it worked out really well for me.
That's excellent. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So what types of services does Senior Alternatives provide?
So one of our main services is care management. We started as a care management company. Um, we've been in business 19 years. Around 8 years ago, we added on caregiving services because we really wanted to have a tighter teamwork approach with caregivers, and we didn't feel like we were able to attain that working with regular home care agencies.
Okay, that's great. So what is a care manager?
Mm-hmm. So care management is used typically when a family member has questions about the general well-being of a family member. So there's concerns, but there's also just questions. You have a lot of thoughts as to what the future might look like. It might be that you're feeling a little bit anxious about things, and so a care manager will come in and do what we call a biopsychosocial assessment. It's a very holistic approach to looking at the person's life and what is going on in their life. Everything from what is their functional level, are there risk factors, are there anticipated risk factors, what are the financial concerns. So it's really goes into great detail as to what's going on in this person's life. And then we're able to make an assessment and recommendations, and also to provide the family with options. And then we will also stay involved in many cases, ongoing monitoring, changing and tailoring the care plan as needed. It also can be something as simple as we have families that come in and they're just feeling like their loved one is getting a little frail and they're not in the area. So there's a tremendous amount of clients that we have that are long distance, that have long distance family members that are trying to caregive for them and just cannot fit it all in. They can't be flying out. Care managers are also available for crisis intervention. People fall, or we have a lot of clients with Alzheimer's disease where there's behavioral issues, there's physical issues, and families have no idea how to address them, and they might have caregivers there, but the caregivers aren't really able to address them. So we're able to come in as professionals in the area of Alzheimer's and other dementias and give really solid recommendations.
Great. So what kinds of services do the caregivers provide?
Mm-hmm. So caregivers are non-medical, but they pretty much do everything else. So they could do light house cleaning, personal care. One of the big things that we focus on is companionship, and our company really takes the time with every client, whether they have care management or caregiving only, to look at what is this person doing in their life and what kinds of activities, pleasurable events, can make their life more meaningful and, more importantly, purposeful. Everybody wants to feel like they have a purpose. So the caregivers do a lot of companionship, doctor's appointments, errands, chores, just about anything that a person might need that's non-medical.
Great. So does California require non-medical home care providers any licensing or any kind of training?
It does not for non-medical. Most of our caregivers, I think what agencies try and do is to have people that are, number one, very experienced. I think the second thing that we look at is, yes, do they happen to be a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, or a home health aide, which is an HHA. A lot of caregivers have that. It's not the most important factor. Experience, references, and that they have a clean background is certainly a lot more important, and certainly their personality and how they connect to seniors.
So do senior alternatives do some sort of background checks and things like that to make sure?
We do a national criminal background check. We also have to have 2 references where people have worked in the homes of families. And then we do a lot of testing. So there's a written test, a verbal test. There's 2 interviews. And then also a lot of our decision as to whether we're going to hire someone or not is just how the chemistry that we have with them, how we feel about them, and how we feel they're connecting with us in our office.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yes.
So what do you do differently than your competitors? What really sets you apart? I know you have a unique approach. Can you share a little more about that?
Yes. So most agencies are home care agencies. We started as a care management agency. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of California, and a lot of my staff are also all of our staff are master level professionals, our care management staff. What we do that's different is we use a social work approach. So even our interviewing process with the caregivers is developed by social workers. The person who does our recruitment has spent 30 years at APS, and she's been a social worker those whole 30 years before she came to us 3 years ago.
It stopped. It's completely stopped.
Okay.
It stopped by the last 5 seconds.
It's still recording. It's just freezing. That's okay.
So I'll start where I was. And what that enables us to do is to go into the home and really take a look at what kind of a care plan the person is needed. And it's looked at from a social work perspective. And the biggest issue that we see in starting home care is our seniors are at a very transitional point in their lives. And they've reached a point where all of a sudden they need some help, and it makes a lot of them feel like they're not worthy anymore, like there's nothing going on in their life, and what they're really needing is to be empowered and to be able to get back the life that they once had. So our assessment is based not just on their daily needs, but also on this emotional component, and I think you don't often find that in a typical agency, and that's the beauty of having the social worker involved. The other really important thing about having the social work model is our caregivers, who are wonderful and very experienced, are getting one-on-one training by the social worker in the field. We certainly do trainings regularly from a classroom approach, but this is actually on-the-job training with this particular client. The care manager / social worker will initially get involved in the case and stay very involved until there's a very smooth transition, and even thereafter. And sometimes I'm on the phone with the family and the caregiver and the client daily for a while, bridging communication, adjusting the way the caregiver is approaching the client. A lot of the seniors are very resistant to taking in caregiving, and it's almost an art to gently help them with this transition, and we're extremely successful at it. We have no cases where our clients haven't taken home care and actually really are enjoying that home care and love their caregiver. And more importantly, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, is they're empowered again. We are always confronted with people that are depressed. When you meet a senior that is at a point where they need home care, there's always depression. It's a really hard time. So what we see probably within 2 weeks, a month, sometimes even sooner, is a senior that's out doing what they need to do, doing what they enjoy, and they're not depending on their family anymore. They're not feeling helpless or in distress.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've actually worked together with some clients in the past, and we've seen firsthand from our perspective, you've done an amazing job, and clients have been very pleased with your work. So.
Thank you.
So do you have any specific examples of something that might be kind of a common scenario that you could share with us, just to give our audience a little bit more understanding of what would be appropriate?
Sure. So I think 80% of our cases, and I just opened up 5 cases in the last few weeks, they're almost identical, are elderly that are living into their, we're even seeing it in the late 70s, but into their 80s, getting close to 90, and they're getting dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia or Parkinson's dementia. We see a lot of that. And they're not able to take care of themselves. Things are slipping. I think all 5 of these clients had tremendous weight loss. And that, I think some of the first signs that we see that tell us that people do need caregiving is they're losing weight because they're not really remembering to eat. And also they're starting to get a lot of anxiety. And that's because when you have dementia, it's like a car where the steering wheel isn't quite working. So this is what we typically get. And sometimes these cases can be in, a very bad state where there's a lot of agitation, where people are wandering and getting lost, and there's all degrees of problems that we get involved in. So, but a typical one would be we have someone with dementia and they're absolutely not willing to take caregiving, and the children don't know what to do. And the doctor is saying, you really got to get your mom help. She's losing weight. She's not taking her medication. She might have had a hospitalization. We see that a lot. Because she wasn't taking her medication, she got dizzy from blood pressure problems and fell and hit her head. So this is typically what we see. And we'll often take them out of the hospital and help with the discharge. So what we would do at that point is, as I said earlier, work very intelligently. And again, this is where the social work model is beautiful with caregiving, as to how can we help this person with this transition. And we're approaching our clients oftentimes from where they're at. It's not about exactly what they need and how do we get it in place and make them take it. It's, what is going on with them. And typically, again, we're finding out that they have certain goals. They don't want to leave their home. They don't want to stay in a nursing home. They don't want to go to assisted living. And so we work with them from that standpoint. And I'll sit with the person and say, look, I know, let's talk about what you want. And then from there, it's a lot of relationship building. And this can sometimes happen, at the very first visit. It usually does. I can tell them other people who were in their scenario and how they were able to reach those goals. And I can give them a lot of scenarios. And so typically they'll take the care. Matter of fact, they almost always take the care. And sometimes we start that slowly unless they absolutely have to have a tremendous amount of care. Then we have to explain to them, you just do not want to end up back here again. You don't want to end up in this nursing home, or you don't want to end up in the emergency room. And we're also picking the right caregiver. That's really important, is understanding. And again, this is what I love about the social work model. As social workers, we're really able to take a look at this person and their personality and find the right caregiver. And not everybody wants someone chatty. I think the biggest requests we get are caregivers who are upbeat, positive, but can gently and softly help this person to initiate their needs and not make them feel like they've come in and taken over, but that they've empowered them. And so that's really the typical case that we get, is this resistant senior getting sicker, having medical issues, not getting the care that they need, and helping to make that transition to getting care in the home.
Thank you. So one other question that I have is, what is the cost for this type of service? And is there a free initial consultation?
So we do give a free initial consultation, either in someone's home or they can come into our office. And we spend a lot of time with the family. Sometimes we're giving resources, but really letting them know what would it look like for their parent. And we really give you a thumbnail care plan. So our costs are for caregiving, we're $26.50 an hour. The hourly rate does go down after 9 hours. We also have set 12-hour discounted rates if appropriate. So it depends on the level of care. A day 12-hour shift at $270, a night 12-hour shift at $245. Our live-ins right now are a problem in California. We're hoping that there's going to be some reversal of some of the policies, the current policies, but right now live-ins are $485. Our care management services. So a care manager is the master level professional is $140 an hour, and a care management assessment is typically between 3 and 5 hours.
Great. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I know this is a very hard time for your family. When I talk to families initially, usually it's initially a phone call. What I say to them is, you are not traveling alone. As you know, our society is filled with aging population, and that everything you're going through is workable. I like to tell people to just take a deep breath, and things are going to be in a much better state before they know it.
Well, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Janet.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
I really appreciate your time and all the great information that you've provided. If you would like more information for yourself or a loved one, you can find all of their contact information on the Elder Care channel. And if you'd like to contact Janet with Senior Alternatives, she can be reached at 888-451-4290. Thank you for watching. We hope you have a great day.